I still remember the sound of that courtroom door closing behind her. 25 years she'd been gone. 25 years of silence. And then she walked back into my life with a lawyer and a smile that made my blood run cold. Standing there in that wood-paneled room, watching the woman who abandoned our crying babies demand money from the children she never raised. That's when I knew some wounds don't just heal because time passes. But I'm getting ahead of myself. If you've ever been left by someone you thought would stay forever, you might understand this story. If you've ever had to choose between breaking down and standing up, you'll feel what I felt. Before we go any further, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment telling me where in this world you're watching from. These stories matter because you matter. Your comments remind me I'm not alone in this. My name is Noah Mitchell. I'm 72 years old now. But this story takes me back to when I was 45, still young enough to believe the future was mine to control, still foolish enough to think love was enough to hold everything together. Back then, I lived in Cleveland, Ohio, on the east side, in a neighborhood where the houses all looked the same, but the dreams inside them were all different. This is the story of how I lost everything and found out who I really was. The first time I saw Simone Davis, I was 28 years old, working security at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame downtown. She came through with a group of friends, laughing at something, her voice carrying across the lobby like music. I'm not the kind of man who usually stops what he's doing for a woman, but something about her made the whole room feel warmer. She had these bright eyes, the kind that looked at you like you were worth paying attention to. Dark brown skin that caught the light just right. She wore her hair natural, pulled back in a wrap with colors that reminded me of sunset. When she smiled, it wasn't small or polite. It was big. It was real. I held the door for her group as they left. She turned back, looked right at me and said, "Thank you, Noah." I blinked. "How'd you know my name?" She pointed at my badge and laughed. "I can read." That laugh. God, that laugh. We started dating 3 weeks later. Simone worked as a dental hygienist at a clinic in Shaker Heights. She was good at her job, good with people, good at making you feel like the world wasn't as heavy as it seemed. We'd sit in her car after her shift talking about everything, her childhood in Akron, my family in Cleveland, the kinds of lives we wanted to build. "I want 3 kids," she told me one night, her head resting on my shoulder. "Maybe 4. 4, I laughed. "You trying to start a football team?" "I'm serious, Noah. I want a house full of noise. I want Sunday dinners that last until dark. I want to matter to people who will remember me when I'm gone." I kissed her forehead. "Then let's build that life." We got married 2 years later in 1998 at a small church on Euclid Avenue. Her aunt sang Blessed Assurance while Simone walked down the aisle in a dress she'd saved for 8 months to buy. My brother Marcus stood next to me as my best man, whispering, "Don't mess this up, Noah. That woman's a blessing." He was right. For a long time, he was right. We rented a 2-bedroom house on East 147th Street. It wasn't much. The floors creaked, the heater rattled in winter, and the kitchen sink leaked, no matter how many times I tried to fix it. But it was ours. Simone painted the walls yellow because she said it made the rooms feel like morning. I built shelves in the living room for her books and the photo albums she kept adding to. I'd gotten a better job by then, site manager at a logistics company near the airport. The pay was good, real good, $65,000 a year with benefits. I wore a tie to work. I had business cards. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was somebody. Simone would wait up for me some nights, even when I worked late. I'd come home to find her curled up on the couch, reading or watching TV, and she'd smile when I walked in like I was the best part of her day. "How was work, baby?" she'd ask. "Long, but I'm home now." And that was enough. In the summer of 2005, Simone came out of the bathroom holding a pregnancy test. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes were wet. "Noah," she whispered, "we're having a baby." I held her so tight, I thought I might break her. We cried together in that tiny bathroom, the walls still yellow, the future suddenly brighter than I'd ever imagined. But it wasn't just one baby. At the ultrasound, 8 weeks later, the technician kept moving the wand across Simone's belly, her face scrunched in concentration. Finally, she looked up at us and smiled. "You see these 3 heartbeats?" she said, pointing at the screen. "Congratulations, you're having triplets." Simone gasped. I think I stopped breathing. "Triplets?" I repeated. "3 babies?" "3 babies," the technician confirmed. I looked at Simone, she looked at me, and then we both started laughing. That kind of laugh that's half joy, half terror, all disbelief. "You wanted a house full of noise," I said. "I think you're about to get it." We drove home in silence, holding hands across the center console, both of us trying to wrap our minds around what 3 babies would mean. 3 cribs, 3 car seats, 3 college funds. That night, lying in bed, Simone turned to me. "Are we ready for this, Noah?" I kissed her temple. "We'll figure it out, together." And I meant it. I swear to God, I meant it. We spent the next 6 months preparing. I worked overtime whenever I could, stacking up paychecks, trying to build a cushion for when Simone would be on leave. We turned the 2nd bedroom into a nursery, painting it soft green because we didn't know yet if we were having boys or girls or both. Marcus helped me put together 3 cribs, cursing every time the instructions didn't make sense. "Man, whoever designed these things never built furniture in their life," he muttered. Simone's belly grew bigger than seemed possible. By month 7, she could barely move without help. Her back ached, her feet swelled. But she never complained, not once. She'd sit in the rocking chair we bought, one hand on her stomach, humming songs I didn't recognize. "They're listening," she'd say when I asked what she was doing. "You think they can hear you?" "I know they can." That's the Simone I remember most, full of life, full of hope, full of love for babies she hadn't even met yet. We found out at the anatomy scan, 2 girls and a boy. Simone cried for an hour. "Happy tears," she kept saying. "These are happy tears." We named them before they were born. Zara, Aaliyah, and Isaiah. Strong names, names with history, names that meant something. "They're going to be amazing," Simone said one night, her voice drowsy with sleep. "I can feel it, Noah. These babies are going to change the world." I believed her. I think that's what hurts the most, how much I believed her. But then things started to shift. Small things at first. At work, the company started having problems. The economy was slipping. Gas prices were climbing. Clients were pulling contracts. Our CEO called a meeting in October and told us there would be cuts. No specifics, just cuts. The room went quiet. You could feel the fear in the air like smoke. I went home that night and didn't tell Simone. She was 8 months pregnant, uncomfortable, exhausted. The last thing she needed was more stress. "How was work?" she asked from the couch. "Same as always," I lied. But lying didn't change reality. 2 weeks before Simone's due date, my boss called me into his office. I knew before he said a word. You can always tell when someone's about to end your life as you know it. They don't look you in the eye. "Noah," he said, rubbing his face, "I'm sorry. We have to let you go." I sat there, frozen. "Let me go?" "It's not personal. We're cutting 15 positions. You're one of them. I fought for you, man. I really did, but it's out of my hands." I walked out of that building with a cardboard box full of desk supplies and a severance check that would cover 2 months of bills if we were careful. The sun was shining. Birds were singing. People were going about their days like the world hadn't just collapsed. I sat in my car in the parking lot for an hour, trying to figure out how to tell Simone. When I finally got home, she took one look at my face and knew. "They let you go," she said. It wasn't a question. I nodded. She closed her eyes, put both hands on her belly, and then she said something I'll never forget. "We'll be okay, Noah. We have to be. These babies are coming." But I could hear the fear underneath her words. I could see it in the way her shoulders tensed, the way her jaw tightened. That was the moment I should have known. That was the moment everything started to crack. Simone went into labor on a Tuesday morning in early December. I was in the kitchen, scrambling eggs, trying to pretend we weren't down to our last $100 in the checking account, when I heard her gasp from the bedroom. "Noah," she called. "It's time!" I dropped the spatula, nearly tripped over the chair, ran into the bedroom to find her sitting on the edge of the bed, gripping the mattress, breathing hard. "You sure?" I asked. She shot me a look. "My water just broke. I'm sure." I grabbed the hospital bag we'd packed 3 weeks ago. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely grip the car keys. Simone moved slow, one hand pressed to her lower back, the other clutching my arm like I was the only solid thing in the world. The drive to Metro Health felt like it took hours. Every red light, every slow car, every turn made my heart pound harder. Simone breathed through contractions, her face twisted in pain, and all I could think, Willa, I can't lose her. I can't lose them. We made it to the hospital at 9 in the morning. By noon, she was in the delivery room, hooked up to monitors, surrounded by nurses and doctors who kept saying everything was fine, everything was normal, triplets just take time. I held her hand, wiped her forehead, told her she was strong, told her she could do this, told her I loved her more than anything in this world. I'm scared, Noah, she whispered between contractions. I know, baby, but you got this. We got this. At 3:47 p.m., Zara was born. 5 pounds, 2 ounces, tiny lungs, big cry. At 3:52 p.m., Aaliyah followed. 4 pounds, 11 ounces. Quiet at first, then wailing. At 4:01 p.m., Isaiah made his entrance. 5 pounds even. Calm, almost peaceful. 3 babies, 3 miracles, all alive, all breathing. I cut the cords, held each one for 10 seconds before the nurses took them to clean them up, check their vitals, make sure everything was working right. They were so small, so fragile, so perfect. Simone lay back on the bed, exhausted, her face pale but smiling. We did it, she whispered. Yeah, I said, my voice cracking. We did. They kept us in the hospital for 4 days. The babies needed to gain weight, get monitored, make sure they could eat and breathe without help. Simone barely slept. Every time one of them cried, she'd try to get up, even though the nurses told her to rest. They need me, she'd say. And they did. God, they did. I spent those 4 days running between the nursery and Simone's room, between the cafeteria and the parking lot, trying to hold everything together. My brother Marcus came by with food and diapers. Simone's aunt brought baby clothes and a casserole that tasted like love. But underneath all the joy, all the congratulations, all the new baby smell and tiny fingers, I could feel the weight settling in. 3 babies, no job, savings running out. How are we going to do this? We brought them home on a Saturday. The house felt different with them in it. Louder, smaller, more alive. We'd set up the cribs in a row by the window, each one with a different colored blanket so we could tell them apart in the middle of the night. Zara had the yellow blanket. Aliyah had the pink. Isaiah had the blue. That first night, none of us slept. The babies cried in shifts. Feed one, burp them, change them, put them down. Repeat. By 3 a.m., Simone was crying too, overwhelmed, exhausted, her body still healing from delivery. I can't do this, she sobbed. No, I can't. Yes, you can, I said, though I wasn't sure I believed it. We're just figuring it out. It'll get easier. But it didn't get easier. Not for a long time. I spent every day that first month looking for work. I applied to 63 jobs, sent out resumes, made phone calls, showed up to interviews in my one good suit, smiling, confident, trying to convince strangers I was worth hiring. But the economy was bad. Companies weren't hiring, and the few that were wanted people without gaps in their work history, people without 3 newborns at home, people who could work overtime without worrying about daycare. I got rejection after rejection. We'll keep your resume on file. We went with another candidate. Thank you for your interest. Each one hit harder than the last. Simone tried to be supportive. She really did. But I could see it in her eyes. The disappointment, the fear, the slow realization that the life we'd planned wasn't coming together the way we thought it would. She'd look at me differently now, like I was less than I used to be. We stopped talking as much, stopped laughing, stopped touching, except when we had to pass a baby between us or brush past each other in the hallway. The house felt colder, even though it was the same house. The walls felt closer, even though nothing had changed. By the time the babies were 2 months old, we were living on unemployment checks, food stamps, and whatever family could spare. My pride was in pieces. Simone's patience was wearing thin, and I didn't know how to fix any of it. One night in February, I was in the kitchen washing bottles when Simone came in. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, eyes red from crying or exhaustion or both. We can't keep doing this, Noah. I didn't turn around. Doing what? Living like this. Barely making it. I'm tired. The babies need things we can't afford. You're not finding work. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm trying, Simone. I know you are, but trying isn't paying the bills. The words hung in the air between us, sharp and cold. I finally turned to look at her. What do you want me to say? She shook her head. I don't know. I don't know. And then she walked away. That was the first time I realized we might not make it through this. March came in cold and mean. Cleveland winters don't play, and that year felt especially bitter. Snow piling up on the sidewalks, wind cutting through your coat, the kind of cold that gets into your bones and doesn't leave. The babies were 3 months old. Zara had colic, screaming for hours every night, no matter what we did. Aaliyah was the quiet one, barely making a sound, even when she was hungry. Isaiah was the smiler, always looking up at us like everything was fine, like the world wasn't falling apart. I finally got a job at a warehouse on the west side. $10 an hour, no benefits, night shift. It wasn't what I used to make, not even close, but it was something. I took it without hesitation. It's a start, I told Simone when I came home with the news. She nodded, didn't smile, just nodded. When do you start? Monday, 6 p.m. to 2 a.m., so you'll be gone all night. I'll be working, bringing money home. And I'll be here, alone, with 3 babies. I reached for her hand. She pulled away. Simone, what do you want me to do? This is the job I got. We need the money. I know, she said quietly. I know. But I could hear the resentment creeping into her voice. I could feel the space growing between us, wider every day, like a crack in ice spreading across a frozen lake. Night shift changed everything. I'd come home at 3 in the morning, exhausted, smelling like cardboard and sweat, and the babies would be crying. Simone would be on the couch, staring at nothing, her eyes hollow. How was work, she'd ask without looking at me. How are they? The same. No details, no stories, no connection. I'd shower, try to sleep for a few hours, wake up to help with the afternoon feeding, then get ready to leave again. We became ships passing in the hallway, strangers sharing a house and 3 babies, but nothing else. Her aunt noticed. She came by one afternoon in April while I was sleeping, brought groceries and diapers and a look that said she knew things were bad. How's Simone doing? I asked when I woke up and saw her in the kitchen. Aunt Lorraine gave me a long look. How do you think she's doing, Noah? I'm working. I'm trying to provide. Providing ain't the same as being present. That girl needs you, not just your paycheck. I'm doing the best I can. I know you are, baby, but sometimes your best ain't enough if you're not careful. I wanted to argue, wanted to defend myself, but deep down I knew she was right. Simone stopped taking care of herself. She'd wear the same clothes for days. Her hair went undone. She barely ate. When I tried to talk to her about it, she'd brush me off. I'm fine, Noah. You don't look fine. Well, I am, but she wasn't. Anyone could see that. The baby started to feel it too. Zara cried more. Aaliyah got quiet, too quiet. Isaiah stopped smiling as much. I thought it was just postpartum depression. Thought it would pass. Thought if I just kept working, kept bringing money home, kept trying to hold everything together, it would get better. I was wrong. In May, Simone's phone started ringing at odd hours. She'd step outside to answer it. Close the bedroom door. Talk in whispers I couldn't quite hear. Who was that? I'd ask when she came back. Nobody, just a friend. What friend? Does it matter? Yeah, Simone, it matters. She'd look at me then, really look at me, and I'd see something in her eyes I didn't recognize. Something hard, something cold. You're never here, Noah. You work all night, sleep all day. I'm alone with these babies all the time. I'm allowed to have friends. I didn't say you weren't. Then why are you questioning me? I didn't have an answer. One night in June, I came home early. My supervisor sent me home because the shipment didn't come in, said there was no work. It was only midnight. I walked into the house quiet, not wanting to wake the babies. The living room was dark. I could hear Simone's voice coming from the bedroom, soft, almost gentle. I miss you too, she was saying. I know, it's just complicated right now. I stood frozen in the hallway. I can't just leave, Marcus. I have 3 babies. I can't just walk away. Wait, Marcus? My brother's name. No. Yeah, he's at work. He's always at work. Well, I'm here by myself, losing my mind, and he acts like I'm supposed to be grateful he's bringing home scraps. I pushed the door open. Simone was sitting on the bed, phone to her ear, and when she saw me, her face went white. I have to go, she said into the phone. Then she hung up. We stared at each other. Tell me that wasn't my brother, I said, my voice shaking. She stood up. Noah, Tell me you're not talking to Marcus behind my back. It's not what you think. Then what is it, Simone? Because it sure sounds like my wife is having secret conversations with my brother while I'm busting my ass to keep us afloat. Don't do that. Don't make this about you. Make this about me? You're talking to Marcus about our life, about me, about things you won't even say to my face. The babies started crying in the next room, all three of them, wailing like the walls were coming down. Simone pushed past me. Now look what you did. I grabbed her arm, not hard, just enough to stop her. We need to talk about this. She jerked away. There's nothing to talk about. And then she went to the babies, leaving me standing there with my heart breaking and my mind racing, trying to understand how we got here. I called Marcus the next day. You sleeping with my wife? I asked before he could even say hello. Silence on the other end. Noah, man, are you sleeping with her? No. I swear to God, no. Then why is she calling you in the middle of the night? Why are you two having secret conversations? She needed someone to talk to. That's all. She's struggling, man. She's drowning. I was just trying to help. By talking to her behind my back? You're never there, Noah. She's alone with 3 babies, no sleep, no help, no husband because you're working yourself to death. What did you expect to happen? I hung up. Didn't want to hear it. Didn't want to face the truth in his words. But I couldn't ignore it either. Things got worse after that. Simone barely spoke to me. When she did, it was short, clipped, functional. We need diapers. Zara has a rash. Can you watch them for an hour? I need to get out of this house. No warmth, no affection, no trace of the woman who used to wait up for me, who used to smile when I walked in, who used to make me feel like I mattered. I tried. God knows I tried. I bought her flowers with money we didn't have, made her breakfast on my days off, told her I loved her. She'd say thank you, or nothing at all. And then one morning in July, I woke up at noon like usual, dragged myself to the kitchen for coffee, and found Aaliyah crying in her crib. Just Aaliyah. Zara and Isaiah were asleep, but where was Simone? I checked the bedroom, empty. The bathroom, empty. The living room, the porch, the backyard, empty. Her car was gone. Her purse was gone. And there, on the kitchen table, was a note folded in half with my name written on the front in her handwriting. My hands shook as I picked it up. I knew before I opened it. I knew. But I opened it anyway, and what I read destroyed me. The paper felt thin in my hands, cheap, like something that shouldn't hold the weight of a life falling apart. I sat down at the kitchen table because my legs wouldn't hold me anymore. Aaliyah was still crying in the other room, and part of me knew I should go to her, should pick her up, should do something. But I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything except read the words Simone had left behind. Noah, I can't do this anymore. I tried. I swear I tried. But every day in this house feels like drowning, and I don't think I'm going to survive if I stay. I never signed up for this. I wanted a family, but not like this. Not in a house where we can barely pay the bills. Not with a man who's never home, who's too tired to talk, who looks at me like I'm supposed to be grateful for the crumbs we're living on. I love those babies. I do. But I can't be their mother right now. I can't be anyone's anything right now. I'm so empty, Noah. I have nothing left to give. Don't try to find me. Don't call me. Don't send people looking for me. I'm sorry. Simone, I read it 3 times. The first time I didn't believe it. Thought maybe it was a joke, a bad dream, something my exhausted mind made up. The second time I felt anger rising in my chest. Hot, sharp, suffocating. The third time I just felt broken. She left. She packed her things, walked out the door, and left 3 7-month-old babies in a house with a man who was barely holding himself together. Aaliyah's cries got louder. I folded the note, put it in my pocket, and went to get her. She was soaked. Diaper full, face red, little fists clenched. I picked her up, held her against my chest, and she kept crying, kept wailing like she knew something was wrong. It's okay, baby girl, I whispered, even though nothing was okay. Daddy's here. Daddy's got you. I changed her diaper, fed her a bottle, rocked her until she calmed down. Then I checked on Zara and Isaiah. They were both asleep, somehow peaceful, somehow untouched by the storm happening around them. I stood there in that nursery, looking down at 3 babies who didn't ask to be born into this mess, and I made a decision. They needed me, and I was going to be there, no matter what. I called Simone's phone 37 times that first day. Every time it went straight to voicemail. I called her aunt, called her friends, called Marcus. Nobody knew where she was, or if they did, they weren't telling me. "She'll come back," Aunt Lorraine said when she came over that evening to help with the babies. "She just needs time." But I could hear the doubt in her voice. "What if she doesn't?" I asked. Lorraine looked at me with sad eyes. "Then you do what you have to do, Noah. You raise those babies. You be the parent she couldn't be." 3 days passed, then a week, then 2 weeks. No call, no text, no sign of her anywhere. I went to her job. They said she'd called and quit. No notice, no explanation. I drove to her mother's house in Akron. Her mom had passed years ago, but I thought maybe she'd go to the old neighborhood, somewhere familiar. Nothing. I even called the police, but they said unless there was evidence of foul play, there wasn't much they could do. "Adults are allowed to leave if they want to," the officer told me. Happens more than you think. That's what she was to them. An adult who left. To me, she was a wife, a mother. The woman I thought I'd spend my life with, gone. People started talking. Neighbors whispered when I'd take the babies out for walks. I could see it in their eyes, pity, judgment, curiosity. "Where's Simone?" One woman asked me at the grocery store, her voice dripping with fake concern. "She's not here," I said, holding Isaiah in one arm while maneuvering the cart with the other. "Is she coming back?" "I don't know." The woman's eyes went wide. "You mean she just left you with all 3 babies?" I didn't answer, didn't owe her an explanation. But word spread fast. By the end of the month, everyone in our neighborhood knew. Noah Mitchell's wife left him, took off, abandoned her babies. The shame was thick, choking. Everywhere I went, I felt it. But worse than the shame was the loneliness. My life became a cycle. Wake up, feed the babies, change the babies, try to keep them entertained, put them down for naps, cook something simple, feed them again, bathe them, rock them to sleep, try to sleep myself, wake up when they cried, start over. I quit the warehouse job, had to. Couldn't work nights with 3 babies and no help. I applied for every program I could find. WIC, Medicaid, child care assistance, food stamps, anything that would keep us afloat. Marcus came by a few times, but things were weird between us. I couldn't look at him without hearing Simone's voice on the phone that night. "I miss you too, Marcus." "I didn't do anything, Noah," he said during one visit. "You have to believe me." I don't know what to believe anymore. She was hurting. She needed someone to talk to. That's all it was. "Then why didn't she talk to me?" He didn't have an answer. About 3 weeks after Simone left, Aunt Lorraine sat me down. "Noah, honey, I need to tell you something." I looked up from the bottle I was making. "What?" "Someone saw Simone at a bar near Willoughby with a man." The words hit me like a punch. "What man?" "I don't know, but they said she looked happy. Happy. While I was here, drowning, raising our babies alone, she was out somewhere being happy with another man." "Noah, I'm sorry." "Don't," I said, my voice cold. "Just don't." I finished making the bottle, went into the living room, and fed Zara. Aunt Lorraine left without another word. That night, after I put the babies to bed, I sat on the floor of the nursery and cried. Not because Simone was with someone else, not because she left, not because any one thing. I cried because I was so tired. Tired of carrying everything alone. Tired of pretending I was okay. Tired of waking up every day wondering how I was going to make it through. But I didn't have a choice. Those 3 babies needed me, and I was all they had. By the time the babies turned 1, I'd figured out a system. Not a good system, not an easy system, but a system that kept us alive. I took a job doing in-home computer repair, fixed laptops, set up networks, recovered lost data for people who didn't understand technology. I could bring the babies with me sometimes, or work while they napped, or schedule appointments around their routines. The pay was inconsistent, but it was something. Aunt Lorraine watched them twice a week so I could take bigger jobs. Marcus sent money when he could, even though I didn't ask for it. The church on Euclid Avenue, the one where Simone and I got married, set up a meal train. Different families would drop off dinners on Thursdays. Casseroles, soups, fried chicken, mac and cheese, food that lasted. I learned to cook, not fancy, but functional. Spaghetti, tacos, chicken and rice, things I could make in one pot while holding a baby on my hip. I learned to do hair. Zara and Aaliyah's hair was thick, beautiful, but it needed care. I watched YouTube videos at 2 in the morning, learning how to detangle, how to braid, how to twist. My hands were clumsy at first, but I got better. I learned to be alone. That was the hardest part. Zara was the bold one, walking by 10 months, running by 11. She'd climb everything, the couch, the chairs, the side of her crib. Fearless. I'd turn my back for 5 seconds and she'd be on top of the kitchen table. "Girl, you're going to give me a heart attack," I'd say, lifting her down. She'd just laugh. Aaliyah was the thinker, quiet, watchful, always observing. She'd sit with her toys, organizing them by color, by size, by some system only she understood. When she finally started talking, her words were clear, deliberate. "Dada," she said one morning, looking right at me. "Juice. Not juice, please, or I want juice. Just juice." I gave her juice. Isaiah was the peacemaker. If his sisters fought over a toy, he'd give up his. If one of them cried, he'd pat their back. At bedtime, he'd reach through the crib slats to hold their hands until they fell asleep. "You're the good one, aren't you?" I'd tell him. He'd smile. That same smile from when he was a baby, like everything was going to be okay. I lived for those smiles. People ask me all the time, "Didn't you hate her? Didn't you want revenge?" Honest answer? Some days, yes. Some days I'd be up at 4 in the morning, rocking a crying baby, exhausted beyond words, and I'd think about Simone out there somewhere, sleeping through the night, living her life, free. And I'd hate her for leaving, hate her for being weak, hate her for choosing herself over the 3 tiny humans who needed her most. But most days, I didn't have energy for hate. Most days, I was just trying to survive. The kids asked about her as they got older. "Where's Mommy?" Zara asked when she was 3. I was making lunch. I stopped, knife in midair, trying to figure out how to answer. "Mommy's not here, baby." "But where is she?" "I don't know." "Is she coming back?" I knelt down, looked my daughter in the eyes. "I don't think so." Why? How do you explain abandonment to a 3-year-old? How do you tell your child that her mother chose to leave without making her feel like it was her fault? "Sometimes grown-ups make choices we don't understand," I said carefully. "But it's not your fault, Zara. You didn't do anything wrong. None of you did. Do you miss her?" I thought about that. Really thought about it. "I miss who I thought she was," I finally said. Zara nodded like she understood, even though she couldn't possibly. Then she hugged me. "It's okay, Daddy. We don't need her. We have you." And my heart broke and healed at the same time. The years blurred together. Preschool, kindergarten, 1st grade, birthday parties at Chuck E. Cheese that I'd save up for months to afford. School plays where I was the only parent cheering for 3 kids at once. Parent-teacher conferences where I'd explain again that yes, I'm the only parent. "No, there's no mother in the picture." The teachers would nod, give me sympathetic looks. Tell me the kids were doing great, considering. Considering what? That they didn't have a mother? That they were being raised by a man who was making it up as he went along. But we kept going. I taught them to ride bikes in the parking lot behind our building, taught them to swim at the public pool on East 185th, taught them to read, to count, to tie their shoes, to say please and thank you, and I'm sorry when they messed up. I was there for every skinned knee, every nightmare, every first day of school, every last. I was there. By the time they were 10, they'd stopped asking about Simone. By the time they were 15, they barely mentioned her at all. I'd succeeded in the one thing I'd set out to do. I'd raised them to not need her. But there was a cost to that. A hollowness in the house where their mother should have been. An absence that never quite filled in, no matter how much love I poured into it. Sometimes I'd catch Aaliyah staring at old photos, the few I'd kept from before Simone left. She'd run her finger over her mother's face like she was trying to remember something she never actually knew. "You okay, baby?" I'd ask. "Yeah," she'd say, just wondering what she was like. She was complicated, I'd tell her. But she gave me you 3, and for that, I'll always be grateful. It was the kindest truth I could offer. When the triplets turned 23, they started a business together, a consulting firm specializing in digital marketing and brand strategy. All 3 of them had gone to college on scholarships, grants, and loans they took out themselves. Zara studied business. Aliyah studied communications. Isaiah studied computer science. They worked 80-hour weeks for 2 years straight building something from nothing, and I watched them with pride so fierce it hurt. They were everything Simone said they'd be. Amazing. World-changing. Strong. And they'd done it without her. By year 3, the business exploded. Contracts with major companies, revenue in the millions. They opened a second office in Columbus, then a third in Pittsburgh. They bought me a house, a real house with 4 bedrooms and a yard and a kitchen that didn't leak. You don't have to do this, I told them when they handed me the keys. Yes, we do, Zara said. You gave us everything, Dad. Let us give you something back. I cried. Grown man, 68 years old, standing in an empty house my children bought for me, crying like a child, because they called me Dad, because they loved me, because we'd made it. But then the letter came, a legal notice delivered by certified mail with a return address from a law office in Akron. I opened it standing in my new kitchen, sunlight streaming through the windows, and I read the words that made my blood turn cold. Mr. Noah Mitchell, this letter is to inform you that my client, Simone Mitchell, is seeking equitable distribution of assets related to her biological children, Zara, Aaliyah, and Isaiah Mitchell. As the birth mother, Miss Mitchell holds inherent rights to claim financial benefit from the success of her offspring. I stopped reading, sat down at the table, and laughed, not because it was funny, but because after 25 years of silence, after abandoning her babies and leaving me to raise them alone, after building a life without her, she wanted money. She wanted their money. And that's when I knew this wasn't over. I didn't tell the kids right away. For 3 days, I carried that letter in my pocket like a stone, pulling it out at night when I couldn't sleep, reading it over and over, trying to make sense of the audacity. Equitable distribution of assets. Inherent rights as birth mother. Financial benefit from the success of her offspring. The words made me sick. On the 4th day, I called a lawyer, found one through the church, a woman named Patricia Green who'd done pro bono work for single parents. I sat in her office in downtown Cleveland, the letter spread out on her desk between us, and watched her face as she read. Mr. Mitchell, she said finally, taking off her reading glasses, has your wife had any contact with your children in the past 25 years? No, ma'am, not a word, not a birthday card, not a phone call, nothing. And she abandoned them when they were 7 months old? Yes, ma'am. Do you have documentation? The note she left? Any witnesses who can verify? I have the note, and her aunt, my brother, neighbors, people knew she left. Patricia leaned back in her chair, shaking her head. This is one of the most brazen cases I've seen. She has no legal standing here. Ohio law doesn't support a parent who voluntarily abandoned their children suddenly claiming rights to their adult children's assets. So I can fight this? You can. And you should. But Mr. Mitchell, I need to be honest with you. She's going to make this ugly. She'll try to paint you in a negative light. She'll claim abuse, neglect, anything to justify why she left. Are you prepared for that? I thought about my kids, about Zara's fearlessness, Aliah's intelligence, Isaiah's kindness, about 25 years of birthday parties and scraped knees and late-night talks and everything we built together. I'm prepared, I said, whatever it takes. I was wrong about not telling the kids. They showed up at my house 2 days later, all 3 of them, faces worried. Dad, we got letters too, Zara said, dropping a manila envelope on my kitchen counter, from some lawyer in Akron, talking about Mom. My stomach dropped. She sent them to you? Apparently she wants to meet, to discuss matters of mutual financial interest. Aaliyah's voice dripped with disgust. After 25 years, this is how she reaches out? Isaiah stood by the window, arms crossed, jaw tight. He hadn't said anything yet. I pulled out my letter, laid it next to theirs. She wants money from your business, claims she has rights because she gave birth to you. Zara laughed, sharp, bitter. She's got to be kidding. I don't think she is. What are we going to do? Aaliyah asked. I looked at my children, my babies who weren't babies anymore, standing in my kitchen, successful and strong in everything I'd raised them to be. We fight, I said, together. Isaiah finally spoke. His voice was quiet, controlled. I want to see her. We all turned to look at him. Isaiah, I started. No, Dad. I need to see her face. I need to hear her explain how she thinks she deserves anything from us after what she did to you, after what she did to us. Zara nodded. He's right. Let her come. Let her try to justify this. 3 weeks later, on a Tuesday afternoon in September, there was a knock on my door. I knew who it was before I opened it. 25 years. But I knew. Simone stood on my porch looking older but not old. Her hair was different, shorter, dyed auburn. She wore expensive clothes, designer sunglasses, jewelry that caught the light. She looked like someone who'd been living well. "Hello, Noah," she said. My mouth went dry. "Simone, can I come in?" Every instinct told me to slam the door, but I stepped aside. Let her walk in the house I'd worked my whole life to deserve, bought by the children she'd abandoned. She looked around, taking it in. "Nice place. The kids bought this for you?" "What do you want, Simone?" She turned to face me. And for just a second, I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt, maybe, or fear. But then it was gone. "I want what's fair, Noah. Those are my children. I carried them for 9 months. I gave birth to them. I almost died bringing them into this world. And now they're millionaires and I'm supposed to get nothing? You left them. I was sick, postpartum depression. I needed help, and you weren't there. I was working, trying to keep us from losing everything. You were never there," she said, her voice rising. "I was drowning, Noah, alone with 3 babies and no support and no money, and you ran," I said, cutting her off. "You didn't ask for help. You didn't try to work through it. You wrote a note and disappeared. For 25 years, Simone. 25 years. I've been trying to get my life together. For 25 years? She went quiet. I stepped closer. You want to know what those 25 years were like? I'll tell you. I learned to braid hair by watching YouTube at 3 in the morning. I worked 3 jobs some years just to keep the lights on. I missed sleep, missed meals, missed having a life, because every single thing I had went to them. I was there for every fever, every heartbreak, every moment you chose not to be there for. Noah. And now you want money? You want to walk back in and claim something you didn't earn? Simone's eyes hardened. I gave them life. I gave them everything else. The door to the living room opened. Zara, Aaliyah, and Isaiah walked in. They'd been waiting in there, listening. Simone's face went white. "Oh my God." "Hi, Mom," Zara said, her voice flat. "It's been a while." Simone's hands shook. You're all so grown up. 25 years will do that," Aaliyah said. Simone looked at Isaiah. "You look just like—" "Don't," Isaiah said quietly. "Don't try to do this. Don't try to act like you know us. I'm your mother." "No." Zara stepped forward. "You're the woman who gave birth to us. There's a difference. A mother stays. A mother sacrifices. A mother shows up. You did none of those things." "I was sick." "Then you get help," Aaliyah interrupted. "You don't abandon 3 babies and disappear for a quarter of a century. You don't get to claim motherhood now that it's profitable." Simone turned to me. "You turned them against me." I laughed. Couldn't help it. "I never talked bad about you. Not once. I told them you were complicated. I told them you made a choice I didn't understand. I protected your memory even though you didn't deserve it. They formed their own opinions when they got old enough to understand what you did. I want to explain." "There's nothing to explain," Isaiah said. "You want money. That's why you're here. Not because you missed us. Not because you're sorry. Because we're successful and you think you're entitled to it." The room went silent. Simone's lawyer had told her this would be easy. That guilt and longing and the bond between mother and child would work in her favor. She'd miscalculated badly. "I'm not dropping this," Simone said finally, her voice cold. "I'll take this to court. I'll tell them everything. How Noah worked all night, how he was never home, how I had no choice but to leave." "Do it," Zara said. "Please, let a judge hear the truth." Simone grabbed her purse and walked to the door. Before she left, she looked back at me one more time. "You ruined my life, Noah." "No," I said. "You ruined your own." The door closed, and I felt something I hadn't felt in 25 years. Free. Patricia Green called me 2 days later. "They filed Noah. She's officially suing for a portion of your children's income, claiming parental rights and emotional damages." I sat down. "Emotional damages? She's claiming we damaged her?" "She's claiming that being forced to leave due to your neglect caused her severe emotional distress, and that she's entitled to compensation now that the children are successful." "That's insane. That's litigation. Listen, they're going to try to tear you apart in court. They'll ask about your work schedule, your finances, your parenting. They'll try to make it look like you drove her away. Can you handle that?" I thought about the kids sleeping in the next room back when they were babies. thought about every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every choice I made to put them first. I can handle it, I said. The court date was set for November. In the weeks leading up to it, Simone's lawyers started spreading their narrative. They did interviews. Local news picked it up. The story went viral on social media. Mother sues children for share of wealth after years of separation. The comments section exploded. Some people defended her. Postpartum depression is real. Maybe she was really suffering. But most people saw through it. She abandoned 3 babies and now wants their money? Disgusting. This man raised those kids alone and she has the nerve to ask for anything? Gold digger of the year. The attention was overwhelming. Reporters showed up at my house, at the kids' office. My phone wouldn't stop ringing, but something unexpected happened. People started reaching out to support us. Other single fathers, people who'd been abandoned, families who understood struggle. They sent messages, letters, donations to help with legal fees. "You're not alone in this," one man wrote. "My ex left me with 2 kids. I see myself in your story. Fight for those babies." It gave me strength. The preliminary hearing was in October. Just a formality, Patricia said. But I needed to be there. I walked into that courthouse in my best suit, the same one I'd worn to job interviews 25 years ago, still fitting but worn at the edges. The kids came with me, united front. Simone was there with her lawyer, a slick-looking man in an expensive suit. They sat on the opposite side of the room, and I could feel Simone's eyes on me, but I didn't look at her. The judge was an older black woman named Judith Harper. She had the kind of face that said she'd heard every lie and seen every game. Simone's lawyer stood up first. "Your Honor, my client is here seeking what is rightfully hers. She gave birth to 3 children under extreme duress. She was abandoned by her husband emotionally and financially, forced to leave due to severe postpartum depression and lack of support. She has spent the last 25 years healing from the trauma of that experience. Now that her biological children have achieved financial success, she simply wants recognition and compensation for her suffering." Judge Harper looked unimpressed. "And where was your client for those 25 years?" "Recovering, Your Honor, trying to rebuild her life after the trauma of..." "Did she pay child support?" Silence. "Did she attempt to contact her children at any point? Birthdays, graduations, holidays?" More silence. "Did she make any effort whatsoever to be a part of their lives?" Simone's lawyer shifted. "Your Honor, my client was not in a mental state to..." "That's not what I asked." Judge Harper turned to Patricia. Patricia stood. "Your Honor, Mr. Mitchell raised these children alone from the age of 7 months. He worked multiple jobs. He sacrificed everything. He was both mother and father. Miss Mitchell chose to leave. She left a note, took her belongings, and disappeared. No phone calls, no letters, no child support, no presence whatsoever. And now, 25 years later, only after learning of her children's financial success, she suddenly claims parental rights. This is not about reconciliation. This is about money, pure and simple." Judge Harper looked at Simone. "Miss Mitchell, do you have anything to say for yourself?" Simone stood, her voice shaking. "I was young. I was scared. I made a mistake, but they're still my children. I gave them life." "Mr. Reich Mitchell gave them everything else," Judge Harper said. "This case will go to trial. But let me be clear. I don't take kindly to people who abandon their responsibilities and then come looking for rewards. You'd better have a compelling case." She banged her gavel. We walked out of that courthouse and I felt something shift. The tide was turning. November came cold and unforgiving. The trial was set for 3 days. The courtroom was packed. Reporters, supporters, curious onlookers. It became a media spectacle. On day 1, Simone's lawyer called her to the stand. She told her story with tears in her eyes. How she'd suffered. How Noah was never home. How she'd felt trapped and alone and desperate. "I loved my babies," she said, crying. "But I was dying inside. I thought they'd be better off without a mother who was falling apart. I thought Noah could handle it better than I could." "And you never reached out in all these years?" Her lawyer asked. "I was ashamed. I didn't know how to face them. I didn't think they'd want to see me." "But you want to be part of their lives now?" "Yes, more than anything." It was a good performance. I'll give her that. Several people in the courtroom looked sympathetic. Then Patricia cross-examined her. "Miss Mitchell, You said you thought the children would be better off without you. Is that correct? Yes. So you made the decision to leave for their benefit? Yes. I was sick. I wasn't myself. Did you seek treatment for this sickness? Eventually, yes. Eventually. How long after you left? Simone hesitated. A few years. A few years. And in those few years, did you ever call to check on your children? I couldn't, or didn't. I was too ashamed, but not too ashamed to hire a lawyer and sue them for money now. Objection. Simone's lawyer stood up. Sustained, Judge Harper said. But she was looking at Simone with narrowed eyes. Patricia continued. Miss Mitchell, you claim you left due to postpartum depression and lack of support. Do you have medical records from that time confirming this diagnosis? No. I didn't go to a doctor. So you have no documentation of this illness you claim forced you to abandon your children? It's not something you always go to a doctor for, but you expect this court to take your word for it? 25 years later? Simone's face flushed. I'm telling the truth. Are you? Tell me, Miss Mitchell, where did you go when you left Cleveland? I stayed with friends. Which friends? I don't see how that's relevant. Your Honor, I'd like to submit evidence as Exhibit A. Patricia handed papers to the clerk. These are credit card receipts from the month Miss Mitchell disappeared. Hotels in Miami, restaurants, concerts. Does this look like someone suffering from severe depression? The courtroom murmured. Simone's lawyer objected, but the damage was done. And Exhibit B, Patricia continued, social media posts from Miss Mitchell's accounts over the past 15 years, pictures from vacations, parties, a wedding in 2015. Your wedding, Miss Mitchell, to a man named Marcus Tillman. You were married? My heart stopped. Marcus. My brother's name was Marcus. But no, couldn't be. She wouldn't have. Yes, I remarried, Simone said quietly. And divorced? Yes. 3 times, according to public records. 3 marriages and divorces in the years you claim you were too traumatized to contact your children. The courtroom was silent. On day 2, they called me to the stand. Simone's lawyer came at me hard, trying to paint me as an absent father, a neglectful husband, someone who drove his wife away. Mr. Mitchell, isn't it true that you worked night shifts leaving your wife alone with 3 infants? Yes. And isn't it true that you were rarely home? I was working. Someone had to provide for our family. But you weren't there for your wife when she needed you most. I looked at Simone. She was watching me, her face unreadable. I was there every moment I could be, I said. I loved my wife. I loved my children. I did everything I knew how to do to keep us together. But it wasn't enough, was it? No, I said, it wasn't. Because she didn't want to fight for us. She wanted to run. You have no compassion for what she was going through? I have compassion for anyone struggling with mental health. But compassion doesn't mean accepting abandonment. It doesn't mean letting someone walk away from their responsibilities and then rewarding them for it 25 years later. Simone's lawyer tried to shake me, tried to get me to admit to things that weren't true, but I held firm. Then Patricia asked me questions. Mr. Mitchell, tell the court about the first year after your wife left. I took a breath, told them everything, the sleepless nights, the crying babies, the overwhelming loneliness, the shame, the determination to give my kids a life worth living. Did you ever consider giving up? Never. Why not? Because they needed me, and I loved them more than I loved my own comfort. Several people in the courtroom were crying. On day 3, the triplets testified. Zara went first, confident, clear, powerful. My father was everything to me. He taught me to be strong, to stand up for myself, to never settle for less than I deserve. He was at every school play, every soccer game, every moment that mattered. I don't remember my mother because she chose not to be there. And now she wants money? She wants to profit from our success that she had no part in building? That's not a mother. That's a stranger. Aaliyah was next. Calm, measured, devastating. I used to wonder what was wrong with me, why my mother didn't want me. My dad told me it wasn't about me. It was about her. He protected her memory even when he didn't have to. He could have taught us to hate her, but he didn't. He taught us to understand that people make choices we don't agree with, but understanding doesn't mean accepting. She made her choice. Now we're making ours. Then Isaiah, my quiet son, my peacemaker. He looked at Simone directly. I don't hate you, he said. I don't know you enough to hate you, but I don't owe you anything either. You gave birth to me. Thank you for that. But my father gave me life. There's a difference. And if you think you can show up after 25 years and claim something you didn't earn, you're wrong. We're not your lottery ticket. We're not your retirement plan. We're the children you abandoned, and we're fine without you. The courtroom was silent. Simone was crying, but it was too late for tears. Judge Harper took 2 weeks to make her decision. Those 2 weeks felt longer than the entire 25 years before them. The kids went back to work. I went back to my house. We waited. The media coverage intensified. The story went national. People everywhere were following Noah Mitchell v. Simone Mitchell. It became bigger than us. A conversation about responsibility, about abandonment, about what parents owe their children and what children owe their parents. I got letters from all over the world, from single mothers, single fathers, abandoned children now grown, people who saw themselves in this story. You're fighting for all of us, one woman wrote. Don't stop. On December 3rd, we went back to court for the verdict. The courtroom was even more packed than before, camera crews outside, supporters holding signs, justice for Noah and deadbeat mom. We sat down. Simone sat across from us. She looked smaller somehow, defeated. Judge Harper entered. We all stood. Be seated. The room held its breath. Judge Harper looked at Simone. Miss Mitchell, I've reviewed all the evidence, all the testimony, and I've spent considerable time thinking about this case. On the surface, you asked this court to recognize your parental rights and grant you financial compensation from your adult children's success. But this case is about much more than that. She paused. This case is about responsibility, about choice, about the consequences of our actions. Simone's lawyer shifted in his seat. You claim you left due to postpartum depression and lack of support. While I have compassion for anyone struggling with mental health, you have provided no evidence of this condition. No medical records, no treatment history, nothing but your word, 25 years after the fact. Furthermore, the evidence shows that in the years following your departure, you lived a full life. You remarried multiple times. You traveled. You maintained social media accounts where you never once mentioned the 3 children you claim to have been too traumatized to contact. Mr. Mitchell, on the other hand, raised these children alone. He sacrificed his career, his social life, his personal happiness to ensure they had everything they needed. He was both mother and father. He showed up every single day for 25 years. Judge Harper looked at the triplets. And these children, these remarkable young adults, have testified clearly and powerfully about the impact of your absence and the presence of their father. They don't want your money. They don't need your validation. They have built successful lives despite your abandonment, not because of it. She turned back to Simone. Miss Mitchell, you gave birth to 3 children. That is a biological fact. But parenthood is not merely biology. It is presence. It is sacrifice. It is love demonstrated through action, not words. You forfeited your parental rights the moment you walked out that door 25 years ago. You don't get to reclaim them now that it's financially convenient. The gavel came down. I hereby dismiss your claim in its entirety. You have no legal standing to seek financial compensation from your adult children. Furthermore, I'm awarding legal fees to the defendants. This case is closed. The courtroom erupted. Cheers, applause, reporters rushing to get reactions. Simone sat frozen in her seat, her lawyer whispering urgently in her ear. The kids hugged each other. Then they hugged me, and I cried, not from relief, not from victory, but from closure. After 25 years, it was finally over. We walked out of that courthouse into a crowd of cameras and microphones. Reporters shouted questions. Mr. Mitchell, how do you feel? What's your message to Simone? Will you ever forgive her? I stopped on the courthouse steps. The kids stood beside me. I don't have a message for Simone, I said. But I have a message for everyone watching this. Single parents, you're not alone. Your sacrifices matter. Your presence matters. Show up for your kids. Love them. Protect them. Be there. That's what makes you a parent. Not biology. Not titles. Action. And to anyone who's been abandoned by a parent, by a spouse, by anyone, you're not defined by who left you. You're defined by how you rise after they're gone. My children are proof of that. More applause. We got in the car and drove away. That night we had dinner at my house. Just the 4 of us. Zara cooked pasta with shrimp, garlic bread, salad, Aliyah made dessert. Isaiah picked the music. We sat around the table, laughing, talking, remembering stories from when they were little. Remember when you tried to braid my hair for picture day? Zara said. And it was so bad the photographer asked if I wanted to wear a hat? I was learning, I protested. YouTube didn't have as many tutorials back then. You tried your best, Dad, Aliyah said. That's what mattered. Isaiah raised his glass. To Dad, the only parent we ever needed. We clinked glasses, and in that moment I felt peace, real peace, the kind that comes when you know you did right by the people you love. It's been 2 years since the trial. I'm 72 years old now. My knees hurt more than they used to. I need reading glasses. I fall asleep in my chair watching the news. But I'm happy. The kids' business is still growing. They opened offices in 4 more cities. They're talking about expanding internationally. I'm so proud I could burst. Zara got married last year. Big wedding. I walked her down the aisle and cried the whole way. Her husband's a good man. Treats her right. That's all I ever wanted. Aliyah's in a PhD program. Studying communications and social justice. Writing a dissertation about single-parent households and economic mobility. She interviews me sometimes for her research. Makes me feel important. Isaiah's engaged. Planning a wedding for next summer. He asked me to be his best man. You've been my best friend my whole life, he said. Only makes sense. They still come over every Sunday for dinner. We've kept that tradition alive. People ask me all the time, do you regret it? All those years of struggle? All the things you gave up? Never. Not once. Those kids were worth every sleepless night, every missed opportunity, every sacrifice. They are worth it. I saw Simone one more time after the trial. About 6 months later, I was at the grocery store, loading bags into my car when I heard a voice behind me. Noah, I turned. She was standing there, no makeup, no expensive clothes, just Simone, looking tired, looking old. I don't want anything, she said quickly. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I closed my trunk, looked at her. I was wrong, she continued. About everything. I was young and scared and selfish, and I convinced myself that leaving was the right thing to do. But it wasn't. And by the time I realized that, too much time had passed. I didn't know how to come back, so I didn't. And then I heard about the kids' success, and I made another mistake, a bigger one. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to hear it, because those kids deserve to hear it. I know they won't forgive me. I don't expect them to, but I need them to know I'm sorry. I need you to know I'm sorry. I thought about holding on to anger, about making her suffer, about all the things I could say to hurt her the way she hurt us, but I was tired of carrying that weight. I forgive you, Simone, I said. She looked shocked. You? What? I forgive you, not because you deserve it, not because it makes what you did okay, but because I'm not going to let what you did 25 years ago steal any more of my peace. I raised 3 incredible humans. I have a life I'm proud of, and holding on to anger at you doesn't serve me anymore. Tears ran down her face. But I continued, forgiving you doesn't mean letting you back in. The kids are adults. They get to decide if they ever want a relationship with you. That's not my call to make. She nodded. I understand. I hope you find peace, Simone. I really do. But you're going to have to find it somewhere other than in our lives. She wiped her eyes. Thank you, Noah, for everything you did for them, for being the parent I couldn't be. And then she walked away. I haven't seen her since. Last month, the kids surprised me. They showed up at my house with cameras and a film crew. What's all this? I asked. We're doing a documentary, Zara said, about single fathers, about resilience, about family, and we want you to be the centerpiece. Me? I'm not special. Yes, you are, Dad, Aliyah said. You're exactly what people need to see, proof that love and dedication can overcome anything. So I sat down and told my story, all of it, the good, the bad, the painful, the beautiful. And when it was done, Isaiah hugged me and said, you know what the most amazing thing is? What's that? You never once made us feel like we were a burden. You made us feel like we were a gift. That's the difference between you and her. Now, sitting here in my living room, I think about that young man I was at 45, standing in a kitchen with a note from his wife, 3 crying babies upstairs, and a future that looked impossible. If I could go back and talk to him, here's what I'd say. It's going to be hard, harder than anything you've ever done. There will be nights you want to give up, Mornings you can't imagine getting out of bed. Moments you feel completely alone. But you're not alone. Those three babies upstairs, they're going to save you just as much as you saved them. They're going to teach you strength you didn't know you had. They're going to show you what unconditional love really means. They're going to become the best parts of who you are. So hold on. Keep showing up. Keep loving them. Because 25 years from now, you're going to sit in a house they bought for you, surrounded by their love, and realize that every single sacrifice was worth it. You're going to understand that peace doesn't come from perfect circumstances. It comes from knowing you did right by the people who needed you most. And that's exactly what you're going to do. I'm Noah Mitchell. I'm 72 years old. I'm a father. And that's the greatest title I've ever had. If you made it all the way through this story, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. Thank you for being part of this journey. Hit that like button if this story touched you. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories like this. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what part of this story hit you the hardest. Because these stories matter. Your stories matter. And sometimes sharing them is how we heal. I thought I had time to tell Simone I loved her. Turns out she didn't give me that chance. But I had time to show my kids I loved them. And I took every single second of it. That's the lesson, friends. Don't wait to show love. Don't wait to be present. Don't wait to fight for what matters. Because time doesn't wait for any of us. But love, real love, the kind that shows up every day, that lasts forever. Noah's story resonated across the internet. The documentary won awards. The children's company started a foundation supporting single parents. And Noah spent his remaining years surrounded by grandchildren who would never know abandonment, only love. He passed away at 78, peacefully, in his sleep. All three of his children were there. And at his funeral, they each stood up and said the same thing. He was our mother and our father. He was everything. And because of him, we learned what it means to truly love someone, to truly show up, to truly stay. On his headstone, they wrote, Noah Mitchell, father, hero, the man who stayed. Thank you for taking this journey with me. If this story moved you, please share it. Someone out there needs to hear it. Someone needs to know they're not alone, that their sacrifices matter, that showing up day after day is the most heroic thing a person can do. Drop your comments below. I read every single one. Until next time, stay strong, stay present, stay loving.